Hey guys, what's up? I'm Zach from Zach Soapbox. This is the video for the week of Friday, August 15th, 2025. Welcome to my little corner of the world and corner of YouTube where once a week I get on here, speak my mind, talk about whatever I want to talk about. Even sometimes I'll take a audience requested video like this week. I'm doing a friend of mine, he requested I do a video on why people lose passions. And so I'm always open to audience suggestions for video topics, so on and so forth. We release a video here every Friday. Please feel free to like, comment, and share on the video if you'd like. And I hope you enjoy and I hope you take something away from it. Anyway, like I said, today's video is on why people lose passions. So man, this is for my buddy Tom. He requested this, so that's what I'm going to give him. But your question, Tom, is kind of vague. Passion for what? Passion for music, passion for relationships, passion for art, or working on cars. People have all different kinds of passions. So there's a couple different things and a couple different ways I could have went with this. But I did a vague kind of general, idea and kind of just things that kind of tend to happen. Some of these deal more with like relationships. Some of these are more just general passions. But so here we go. Why passions fade. The first thing, as I'll say, is familiarity can breed contempt. When you get used to something, it gets boring. You know what I mean? When you do the same thing day in, day out, and there's no changes, it's monotonous, that sort of thing. Whereas when something's new, there's a novelty to it. Relationships are a good example of that. When you first meet somebody new, it's exciting. But then when you've been together for 20 years, like say, for example, the first fart in a relationship, it's a novelty thing. 20 years later, you're shitting with the door open going, hey, we need toilet paper, shouting, you know what I mean? But familiarity can breed contempt. And when you get used to something, you get bored. And you lose that passion of something new, something exciting. Number two, disappointments. Like I said, once the novelty wears off, you know what I mean? You can burn out, and also your priorities start to change. What you once had a passion for, maybe you no longer have a passion for. Maybe as a teenager, you were in a rock band, but then by the time you're like 25 and have a real job and in the real world, you don't have the same passion for music you once did, for example. So your priorities change. Once you start having a kid and a family, you're like, I don't want to be a starving artist. I got a family to feed. So you kind of change over time, that sort of thing. But so that's the second thing. And then like the third thing would be like depression and other psychological issues. A lot of times when you become depressed, you lose your interest in things you once loved. You lose the desire and the drive to keep on fighting, keep on moving, and keep on getting better. So like psychological issues can also play a factor in depression and things like that. The next thing is like external pressures, such as let's say you have a passion for painting, but you're not a professional painter. You know what I mean? You have to work a real job. You have a family, you have a girlfriend, you have children to feed, you have, other obligations to where those externalized pressures from the real world don't give you time to focus on your passion. Maybe your job as a construction worker, but maybe what you really have a passion for is poetry. So, but you're forced to work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 days a week, externalized pressures in the real world. The next thing is like disciplined for sustained effort with no immediate reward. We live in a world where people have the internet now and they have Google, so they get instant answers and instant gratification. But like say with a musical instrument, like say guitar, it takes time and discipline and years to sit and learn music theory and learn scales and et cetera, to where a lot of people, because they don't get the immediate reward of, platinum and gold records or millions of dollars or whatever, they don't have the time and discipline to sit and learn and master their craft, so to speak. So a lot of people don't have because it's not instant gratification, they don't have the discipline to sit and put in the concerted effort. That sort of thing. Comparison killer. Let's take, say, the guitar example. well, I'll never pick up the guitar because I'll never be as good as Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan or Yngwie Malmsteen or Eddie Van Halen or Johnny Winter or whoever, you know. Always try to compare yourself to somebody else who does something better. Well, that's because they put in the work and the effort and discipline to get better, and you could do it too if you try. A lot of people try to compare themselves. Oh, look at so-and-so's tone on guitar. I can't never match that, so I just quit. You know what I mean? The next thing is like a lack of support system. Like when you do something and you're real passionate about it, but the people around you don't support you, and not having a support system to kind of keep you going when you get down or when you get burned out, or somebody to say some encouraging words, that is a motivation killer as well. You know what I mean? But I'm like, say with me doing the soapbox, one of the reasons I brought this back is for my man, Martin Evans. We're friends on Facebook, and he's been hounding me for years to bring back the soapbox from when I quit back in 2020. And Martin, you hounding me is one of the reasons I brought it back, man. So I might not get external support from some of the people that are my loved ones that are in my immediate life, but I get plenty of support from total strangers and people that really enjoy my things that are not related to me at all, you know, or even know me in a certain way, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. So having a lack of support system is can be a motivational killer. And again, the last thing I say, I think I already touched on it, is perfectionism. You know, always trying to, well, it's not perfect or it's not as good as it could be. Well, but that's no reason to quit. Okay, practice makes perfect. So, you know, relationships themselves, they require work. A lot of this could apply to relationships. You know, relationships aren't perfect. They're not a fairy tale. You know, you and your significant other aren't always going to get along, aren't always going to like each other, aren't always going to see eye to eye. But relationships, like everything else in life, require work. They're not a fairy tale. You're going to have things you like to do that your lover, significant other doesn't like to do. They're going to have things that they like to do that you don't like to do. So it's not going to be perfect where you're together all the time, always getting along, always up each other's asses, maybe in the beginning of that infatuation stage, but not after a while. There's going to be times where, you know, the husband or boyfriend goes off with his buddies and they go to the bar and go have a few beers, or, you know, your wife gets with her girlfriends and they go see a movie or go get their nails done or their hair done or something like that, you know, shoe shopping, whatever, you know. But so people's passions fade because people's interests change. People change in general, you know, as they age and evolve. You know, I'm sure 40-year-old Zach is not the same as 15-year-old Zach, you know what I mean? Certainly in terms of size. You know, like say when I moved to Vegas 5 years ago, I wore a double X, or I wore an extra large. I now wear a 3X t-shirt, that sort of thing. But people's change, people's passions change because their interests also can change, you know what I mean? Like I used to have an interest in music and guitar, but because of my CP, I kind of gave up on it because I couldn't keep rhythm with my cerebral palsy hand. So I've got more, my passion now is more into like strength training and weightlifting and things like that. I have a real passion for that now because it's kind of saved my life. It's one of the things that has kept me alive and helped me fight my depression. I'm going to be honest with you. So I've made the things that help me fight my depression my own passions. The soapbox is still a passion because every week we, you know, usually gain 1 or 2 subscribers, or we get an extra comment. I don't look for my inspiration from like people that are in my immediate circle. I tend to get it from people that are outsiders that I don't really know as much. You know what I'm saying? But so that's why a lot of times I think people's passions fade. You know, let me know your thoughts and ideas in the comments, anything you would add. Like I said, please feel free to like, comment, and share on the video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you take something away from it. And I think next week I'll do a poetry video. It's been since June since I did a poetry video. So next week I think we'll do poetry. So I'll see you then. Okay, everybody, take care. Have a good weekend, and tune in next time.